Hello, welcome to topic 2 is about decision making with data analytics. Now let's look at the short of the decision which are made by manager in an organization and see how data can help in improving this process. Consider the first half of the decision are made within the marketing department. So you may see the decisions is related to pricing decision or locations of the store or branch, or how they decide for the promotional campaign, or people in the marketing department, they may consider the decision related to what are the available marketing resources in terms of time, in terms of expertise they may have, how they can optimize the marketing spending, or if multiple products are produced, what should be the price range among different products. So if we talk about the research and development department, a manager in this department may need to decide whether to pursue one or multiple design strategy. Or in a production department, a manager may need to decide whether to manufacture all of the components on site or to subcontract manufacturing of some of the components from the other firms. Similarly, human resources manager may make the decision related to who they should hire, who they should promote, or what are the typical career paths for employees who are working within the organization. So you can see that none of these decisions are simple, and it's virtually impossible for the decision maker in many cases to work out fully for all of the factors that influence the outcomes of their decisions. So that is why there's the increasingly data and data analytics are behind some of the decisions made by the manager, and these decisions may relate to the management of any functional unit. Do you know that traditionally, and especially in the absence of data analytics, people have to use their feelings when they make decisions? And it is still very common for managers to rely on their intuition and gut to make decisions. Research suggests that there's around 40% of the major decisions are made based from the gut of the managers, not facts. But increasingly, data is being put behind the decision, and data provides this great opportunity for decision making, especially to improve decision making. So that is why data analytics as a field. This has really emerged over the last few years, and there's so much energy at the moment. And a part of what I do during this course is to transfer a bit of this excitement to you. So let's take a look at the levels of a decision making within organizations. Decision making and the problem solving can occur at any one of the three broad levels, and these are strategic level, managerial level, and operational level. So let's look into each of the three levels in more detail. We start with the strategic level, where managers make decisions relating to the development of the overall business goal and objectives. So most of them, they are unstructured decisions. They occur in the situations in which there's no procedure or rules exist to guide the decision maker toward the correct choice. For example, managers make the decision relating to identifying risky or the rewarding opportunities, such as entering new markets or changing existing business models. However, by embedding data analytics into their strategic decision-making process, managers can streamline their internal business process. They can identify their customer trends and the change in the customer reference. They can more easily interpret and monitoring emerging risks and perhaps can build a mechanism for continuous feedback and improvement. So executives in highly data-driven organizations have been found to be 3 times more likely to report significant improvement in their decisions. However, it has also found that executive decision makers often lack a skill to use new sources of data and apply analytics techniques. It has been identified that there's the need for the trained senior executive who could blend the art of the leadership and judgment with the science of the analytics. We know that executives should pay attention to what data and analytics tell them, so which is the science part of the decision-making process. However, we also know that sometimes executives rely too heavily on the arc of the intuition or perhaps on their own experience. Now move to the managerial decision-making. The middle level of the decisions mainly involve decisions about how the resources of the organization will be utilized to achieve the strategic business, and most of them are semi-structured decisions. These are the decisions that relate to the coordination and the support of the core activities of the organization. For example, the manager may prepare the managerial plans about improving utilization of resources or whether they should automating some of the activities, or they may consider when they can use a specific technology or tools to improve their business productivity. And next, we will move to discuss the third level of the decision making, which is the operational level. Now in every organization, there's the need to make the decisions from employees on core business activities, which are required to run the day-to-day operations. Most of these decisions are structured decisions because they are related to the routine activities. And that's the growing number of such decisions which can be automated where the business processes are more established. Although these are routine activities, but they are still underpinned by data. These activities and these sorts of the operational decisions have huge impacts on the business performance. Let's consider an example. A first-line supervisor who in charge with the scheduling workers and ordering raw materials for her department. So poor decision making of such manager can have some severe outcomes for the firm because it may affect productivities in the firm. In the previous section, we have discussed different levels of the decision making. Now we summarize the process of the decision making process. In practice, you may realize that decisions often start with some sort of events. For example, some important equipment has broken down and then the manager had to decide whether to replace that equipment or to get it repaired. Or someone must make a decision because there is some kind of the problem that requires solution. In defining the problems or formulate the problems, the decision maker needs to be very precise and should try to state the problem explicitly, because this problem typically act as the difficulties which need to be overcome by that decision makers. However, it has been observed in practice that the problem formulation seems to be the most neglected aspect of the decision-making process. And sometimes managers also feel psychologically uncomfortable when they think about problems. So once the problem has been defined and framed properly, the next step is finding the solution to that problem. And for this stage, the manager will gather and collect some data and analyze data to identify the appropriate solution. So I have embedded a link here where from the website on how the manager should use data to support the decision-making process. You can watch by yourself. In the previous section, we know that companies that use data to drive decision-making, they can gain competitive advantage, reduce business costs, and increase profit. However, there are a lot of research also highlight that data can be very effective decision-making tool, but it can also make us complacent sometimes. So business leaders should be aware of some common pitfalls. We will explore in detail those pitfalls or the so-called cognitive bias which can affect our decision-making process. But first, I would like to share with you the findings of Charles and his colleagues' research. In the study Good Data Won't Guarantee Good Decision, the research team conducted a survey of around 5,000 employees in companies and sorted them into 3 groups. They named one of the groups as unquestioning empiricists. Around 43% of the employees in the study falls in this category. They explain this group is the group consists of employees who trust the analysis or adjustment. The second group they call visceral decision maker. About 19% of employees were found to be visceral decision makers, and these are people who exclusively use their gut or intuitions when making decisions. And the third group were classified as informed skeptics. This group comprised those employees who are the best in terms of making good decisions because they can balance effectively between judgment and analysis. So these people, they have stronger analytical skills. They listen to the other people's opinion. They also open to disagreement from the point of view of the others. The author of this study also offers some strategy that business or the companies should develop more informed skeptics in their company. Companies should train their workers to increase their data literacy, and they should ensure that information is effectively incorporated in decision-making process. So in the previous section, we know that for executives, success often depends on many decisions they make. While data analytics support the decision-making process, the main obstacle for good decision-making could be that people are unaware of their own bias. So these are the hidden traps that can affect when we make decisions. So that the significant research shows that cognitive biases affect some of the important decisions which are made by you and by some very smart managers in best firms. So what are those pitfalls? Leaders need to be aware of the 3 common pitfalls. We will identify what are those biases, what are the common mistakes that we as the human can make when we make decisions. Because the main obstacle of the good decision making is that we are unaware about our own biases. So our familiarity with those common pitfalls or the cognitive traps is very useful. Then we will discuss some strategy or the practice that may help us to reduce those biases. So the first hidden trap we will discuss today is the confirmation bias or confirmation trap. Now, in order to understand this bias, I would like to invite you to imagine if you are working on a new initiative or a new project and you got a great idea about this project and you did some initial research on it and you find there are very good evidence which is available and support your point of view. And you may be thinking, wow, that's a great idea. And then you will share this idea with your team members and your boss, and they will love it. So you go straight to your boss and show your ideas. But you notice that the boss is skeptical and he asks you to go out and do some more research on that. So you go out and get some more data to support for your case. And when you are collecting data, you run across some of the things that suggest that maybe your ideas is not so right, but you choose to ignore this information or data because maybe there's the more data that fuels your idea and less data which disfavors. So you may feel that your situation aligns with those ideas which is more favorable. So you go back to your boss and you present all of the evidence that you have gathered, but only positive evidence. You leave out or barely mention about the negative stuff. And when you do that, you have fallen into the confirmation trap. So the confirmation bias is the cognitive bias in which people only seek out the information that conform to their pre-existing views, and we ignore the information that goes against them. So we give more weight to the good news and less to the bad news if we are trapped in the confirmation bias. And most of the time, we don't even know that we are trapped in this sort of this bias. So confirmation bias will affect our decision-making process. So how we can reduce the confirmation trap? Here are a few points that can help you to mitigate the effect of the confirmation bias and hope it can help us to improve our decision-making abilities. So first try to list out all of the reasons that support your case and then imagine each of them is wrong. And ask yourself, how would that affect your decision? So try to take the strongest argument and then find the evidence that disproves them. Second, you may also try to get some help from your colleagues in finding the evidence. You can ask some of your colleagues to find only positive evidence and ask the other group of colleagues to find only negative evidence. So, with this strategy, it will help you to have some balanced evidence. Next, you may find it helpful to ask for someone to play a role as the devil advocate. So in this case, you may present all the evidence to him or her and then invite him or her to challenge you. And finally, you can frame the opportunities or the events or the problems in such a way that forces you to find ways to disprove your hypothesis or assumptions. So try to find the reason why that initiative won't work. Now let's move to the next hidden trap. This is the overconfident trap. In order to understand the overconfident trap, let's imagine that you have been working on some projects and they have done very well. You are talented and hardworking, and then your next project comes along. This is the big project just like the other ones before. And you have got a tight deadline, a limited budget for this project, and a lot of pressure to make sure that it's successful. Then there's something bad happens. You were faced with a critical decision. You knew that you didn't have all information, but you made the decision anyway. And it was wrong. And here you have fallen into the overconfident trap. So overconfident trap is the unwarranted faith in one's interpretive reasoning. And we think that we are much better at making decisions than we really are. Someone is being overconfident and perhaps because that maybe they had the great success in the past and they may not necessarily reconsider their frame. They think, okay, why they need to change if it has been working very well in the past. And a lot of research also show that we overestimate our predictive abilities and we also overestimate the precise information we have about the information. Overconfidence happens for a lot of reasons. One could be that we oversimplify things, and another reason is that we don't account for the roles of change in our decision. Remember that every decision has some degree of the variability, but we fail to assume that luck will always be our side. Especially after we have a series of success, we tend to take more risks. Another example to make us more overconfident is related to the expertise. If we are an expert in a particular field, so that the sense of the expertise trickles over into the other parts of our lives, and we think that we are smarter and we are better than we actually are. So if we are overconfident, we don't try to improve our understanding of the situation. We don't go out to check our facts. We don't get more information, and we may not prepare properly for our situation. So the questions here, how we can avoid the overconfidence bias. And here are some suggestions. First, you should remember that the past success does not guarantee for the future success, and you should treat each decision as the new one, as if it was the first one that you have made. Remember that the expertise is not guarantee for future success. So the Nobel winner Daniel Kahneman said, overconfident professionals sincerely believe they have expertise. They act as the expert and look like experts, and you will have to struggle to remind yourself that they may be in the rift of illusion. So it's very important that you should make the formal part of your decision-making process to act like your own devil advocate. Because in the book from Kahneman, Thinking Fast and Slow, he suggests that asking yourself why your analysis may be wrong, this is the good question. And he recommends that you should do this and ask this question for all tasks of your analysis you perform. And this can help you to see the flaws of your own arguments and reduce the mistake across your decision making. So next, you need to reach out all of the facts about the situation and always check your assumption. So ask yourself why you are doing this in the first place. You may have to suspend your initial adjustment about the situation and always check the validity of your assumption. So a good habit here would be just slowing down and looking at the multiple perspectives and then thinking through the implications and the consequences of your belief or your action that you are planning to take because you want to be confident, not overconfident. So we all have talent and experience, but we can definitely improve our judgment by having more realistic sense of our cognitive ability. The next hidden trap we will discuss is availability bias. Imagine you and your colleagues are sitting in a meeting and listen to the proposal from one of your suppliers, and you found that it's an interesting proposal about new technology that can really help you and your team. And your supplier wants your company to have the first right to the new concept because before they have sold it around to your competitors. But something is bothering you from inside. What you remember is that you have recently read a story in the newspaper about a company that tried something new and invested so much time and money in this concept. But then their business turned bad and the companies went out and the local community were distressed about that. So even though your supplier has shown a solid evidence of the new technology, you decide not to invest in it. And they take it to the other competitor who takes it right away from you. So what has happened here? You have fallen in the availability trap. So the availability trap is a common cognitive bias because the experiments have shown that we tend to avoid people who give us negative feedback, and the negative feedbacks get our side. So therefore, it's very common for our mind miss out some important piece of the information. We tend to rely heavily again on more recent information. So how we can avoid falling into the availability trap? There are several suggestions here. First, whenever we make important decisions, it's very important to think what we are deciding at the moment. And is the decision somehow affected by the information that we have recently come across? So you can ask yourself, who gave that information to you and why did they give it to you? Be sure to do the research by yourself when you know nothing about the situation. So it's really important we should start from scratch. Try to ignore what we already know about the situation because that may be not true. And what we know about the situation is just likely to be the tiny fraction of what we need to know. So this is a very good idea to look at the contrary example on what we are considering. So are you being overly focused on some dramatic cases than normal common cases? So be sure to ask the opinion from the other scholars as well, especially for the people who tend to have the opinion different than yours. So you need to give yourself the news perspective. And the final point here, we should be very careful of things we learn from the media. I know that this is counterintuitive, but you will make the better decision, showing better judgment if we downplay what we already know about the situation. To sum up, I would say, in your career as the business manager, you will make a plenty of the decision. I want to conclude the lecture this week by using the quote from Thomas Davenport. He mentioned that the main task of a decision maker is to frame the decision, asking questions about the data and the methodology, working to understand the results and using them to improve the outcomes of your organization. So your success in life will be determined by the quality of the decision you make. So in the lecture this week, we have also covered some of the common hidden traps or the cognitive bias that can hold you back from making sound quality decisions. You would be surprised to know that the biases that we have covered in this lecture are not only ones, and there are dozens and dozens more of such biases. I put some materials on Canvas you can read by yourself. We should have the awareness of this trap when we make critical decisions. Because we are only human, we cannot get rid of these cognitive bias, but we can try to reduce them. So whenever you make a decision, it doesn't matter whether it's a big decision or small decision. Take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, which of the biases that you have learned in the business data analytics course may occur right now at the time you are making the decision? And if you spot on this, then ask yourself, what step can you take to offset it? Even the few steps can have the dramatical impact on the quality of your judgment or decisions. I hope you all enjoy the fun sub this week. Thank you.